Hello, children. Today we are going to start the new chapter. Chapter 5, the fundamental unit of life. In 1665, Robert Hooke saw the thin slide of cork through a compound microscope. He observed many tiny hollow room-like structures that resembles a honeycomb called cells. Hooke actually saw only the outer cell wall because cork cells are not alive. Bark is the covering of a tree trunk, and cork is a substance which comes from the bark of a tree. When Robert Hooke observed cork cells through a self-designed microscope, Robert Hooke has seen the cells like these. Cell is a Latin word for a little room. First person to see a dead cell was Robert Hooke. He observed cells in cork. This may seem to be a very small and insignificant incident, but it is a very important in the history of science. This was the very first time that someone had observed that living things appeared to consist of separate units. The use of word cell to describe these units is used till this day in biology. He is the scientist called Leeuwenhoek. Leeuwenhoek in 1674, with the improved microscope, discovered the free living cells in pond water for the first time. He is the another scientist called Robert Brown. He discovered the nucleus in the cell in the year 1831. The next scientist is Purkinje. In 1839, he coined the term protoplasm for the fluid substance of the cell. The two biologists, Schleiden and Schwann, presented the cell theory that all the plants and animals are composed of cells and that the cell is the basic unit of life. The cell theory was further expanded by Rudolf Virchow in the year 1855 by suggesting that all cells arise from pre-existing cells. That means all the cells comes from older cells. New cells comes from older cells. Mathis Schleiden concluded that all plants have cells. He was a German botanist. Botany means study about plants. So botanist means he was the person studied about plants. Theodor Schwann. He was the German zoologist. Zoologist means the person who studied about animals. Zoology means study about animals. German zoologist Theodor Schwann concluded that all animals are made up of cells. And the scientist Rudolf Virchow was the German doctor. He stated that every cell originates from another cells. All cells arise from pre-existing cells or new cells arise from older cells. Now, can we state cell theory, which was presented by Schleiden, Schwann and Rudolf Virchow? The first two theories were told by Schleiden and Schwann. All living things are composed of cells, and cells are the basic unit of life. Sleeden told that all plants are made up of cells, and Schwann told that all animals are made up of cells. And the last theory was told by Rudolf Virchow that new cells are produced from existing cells. So children, we can conclude today's class. We have studied about cell is the fundamental unit of life. All the living organisms are made up of cells. It is the structural and functional unit of life because whole body is made up of cells. It is known as the fundamental unit of life because it regulates all the functions inside an organism. The cell is a Latin word for a little room. Robert Hooke discovered a dead cell. And later, other scientists, Leeuwenhoek, Robert Brown, Purkinje, Sleeden, Schwann, and Rudolf Virchow contributed their ideas to the world of science. Thank you, children.